All right, so Brian, now let's talk about the 40s because this is, again, even a different stage. 20 was a stage in life where we're just trying to figure things out. And 30 is where we're trying to make sure we're staying the course. Well, now 40s is a bit of a different feeling. It's a different way that we're going to approach thinking about the three buckets as we're building them up.
I've always been very transparent with you guys. Even when we were designing the financial order of operations, I've tried to create a system that reflects my own journey so I was never a hypocrite through the process, because I think accountability and transparency is so important. And I have shared with everybody on the content team, I've shared with you guys, it wasn't until my early 40s that I actually didn't feel broke. And I think that surprises people to hear, hey, it's going to be difficult in my 20s, it's going to be difficult in my 30s. 40s is when you come up for air. And the reason is because remember, compounding interest is the most unfair thing in the world. If you're not taking advantage of it while you're young, it kind of punishes you later. So that's why I put a lot of scarcity on you that yes, you have to live a very disciplined life in your 20s and 30s, because every dollar in your army of dollars is so valuable to get it to work as soon as possible. Go look at our wealth multiplier and you'll see what I'm talking about. 40s is the first decade you probably are going to see tremendous fruits, and you can finally come up for air and realize, okay, I got this. I'm out of the messy middle, and I can start living in a little bit more abundance, even potentially a step 8 of the financial order of operations. This is a decade to celebrate.
So as you start thinking about your tax buckets, there's a really good chance that the tax-free bucket is kind of locked in. You kind of know if I can either contribute to a Roth IRA or if I can take advantage of backdoor Roths. You've probably already also made the assessment of what type of insurance should I be doing. Should I do the high deductible plan or should I do the Cadillac plan? You probably know where you're going to be in the 40s, but we would encourage you, don't get lazy here. Every single year at open enrollment, you should make the assessment what health insurance plan makes sense for me. And at least once a year, and we think it makes sense when you do your annual net worth statement, should I be doing Roth 401k contributions or should I be doing pre-tax? In your 40s, make sure you're reassessing that, because as your income changes, the answer to that question might change. So make sure this is not something that you're neglecting and ignoring as you're working through building your financial portfolio.
And that leads to your tax deferred bucket, which, by the way, now is starting to get pretty big. Not only is it the combination of all your employer's contributions over the last decade, 2 decades, is now also when you started making good money at your job, you started loading up those pre-tax contributions. But you are getting to the point now where I'm telling you, this is where you need to transition into the after tax or the taxable brokerage account, is when you look at the financial order of operations. People go, okay, I see step 5 is tax-free growth. That's your Roth, your HSAs. I see step 6 is max out your tax savings. That's your primarily your employer plans and your tax incentivized saving opportunities. But you will get to a point where you say, okay, step 7, hyperaccumulation. I still need to be saving 25%, but I need to now make sure I'm not retirement account rich, life poor. And what do I mean by that when I say retirement account rich, life poor? If you get into your 40s and you're starting to feel somewhat flush and successful, but you can't pay cash for your next car, you've done something. We need to reevaluate how things are structured, because buying a cash buying your next car with cash, because you're also probably getting to the step where you want to buy nicer cars and do other things. You don't want to be financing that type of stuff. Financing 23.8 was designed to give you grace and affordability on reliable transportation. It's not so you can be financing cars when you're a 40-something with a 7-figure retirement account. We've got to make sure you are building up after-tax or taxable brokerage assets.
Yeah, there's a really good chance this third bucket is where you start to begin building in your 40s, because what the after-tax bucket does is it can be the bridge. All of your retirement accounts, you can't even get access to those until you are 59 and a half, or at best 55 if you're still working with your employer who has your 401k. So if you're thinking about early retirement, if you're thinking about checking out, or if you do need to pay for some of those things that Brian alluded to, the after-tax bucket is going to be the place where you do that. This gives you easy access to your funds. So if you've not thought about this yet, if you don't know what your number is, if you don't know what the future plan looks like, in your 40s where you really want to start developing those ideas so that you can make sure you're putting money in the right places.
Well, that taxable brokerage account's also going to be valuable for you. A lot of people, because like this year, you can put in what, $22,000?
$23,000.
$23,000 in a retirement plan. And a lot of people, you've had some success, you max that out, and you go, all right, I did it. I did my part. No. Remember, the goal is to be saving and investing 25%. And you're like, well, what do I do? I've already maxed out all the tax favorite things. That's where the taxable brokerage account. You can buy mutual funds. You can buy ETFs. You can do very valuable things in those brokerage accounts, and they don't have any type of limitation on your funding. They don't have early withdrawal penalties. There's a lot of opportunity in saving and investing in these taxable accounts.
All right, so let's check in with Manny. As a reminder, Manny started investing 15% at 25, and then he maxed out his savings rate at 25% starting at 35. So he continued that 25% saving all through his 40s. He was making $50,000 a year at 25, and he gets a raise of 5% every year through his working career. He follows the financial order of operations, and his employer continues to do a 5% dollar for dollar match. When we check in at the end of this decade, at age 49, it's a pretty exciting story.
Here's something that I think is so exciting. This is why I love doing the Manny the Mutant case study. I know all the research out there. If you go look at what Millionaire Next Door and others have found, Ramsey Solutions has done a lot of wealth studies as well. They have found that the typical millionaire, and this shocks people because we live in this society of everybody thinks they're going to be rich by the time they're 30 years of age. The reality is most people cross seven-figure status when they're 49 years of age.
Yep.
Here we are. And then the other thing that I find interesting is most people reach millionaire status after they've been saving and investing for 28 years. So let's see if that's the way it works for Manny as well.
When we look at how his accounts are broken down, he has $1.4 million just in his tax-free bucket. That's Roth IRAs, Roth 401k, and HSA. His tax-deferred bucket has now grown to $322,000, and he began saving in the after-tax bucket. He has $15,000 saved up there. His savings rate is the same as what it was in his 30s. He's still saving 25% for the future. But when you look at his wealth score, his age times his income divided by 10, he is now at 2.21. He is a prodigious accumulator of wealth. He's actually better than a prodigious accumulator of wealth. And when you look at his total portfolio value, by the end of his 40s, he has accumulated a $1.7 million portfolio in his 40s, not just hitting millionaire status by age 49, he almost hit multi-millionaire status by age 49.
Yeah, there's a lot of accomplishments in this decade. And you can see maxed out his 401k, crossed $1 million just in the 401k alone. He's hit prodigious accumulator of wealth. Lots of moments. This is definitely, he's reached financial order of operations, step number 8, abundance goals, without a doubt. This is pretty amazing.
When you look at his journey to abundance, it's exciting. And what I love about our net worth tool, again, if you don't have it, go check it out at learn.moneyguy.com, is it shows where you were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and where you are today, so you can actually see your path. You can actually see all of your hard work paying off. And right now, you can see that in this 40s decade is when Manny crossed into being a prodigious accumulator of wealth, which would suggest to me that his 50s, 60s, and beyond is going to look pretty exciting.